Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Apparently starting off with a pause here today as we get underway in a game that was played a little while ago. This actually is a little bit of an older replay here, a couple of days old. Usually we're pretty much on top of it. I feel like most of the replays I cast are like a day old, maybe 2 days old, but this one is almost a week old here as we have a look at a game that was played on Supreme Isthmus. And apparently it featured one of my favorite units in the game, the humble Scuttle. Maybe a little bit of a spoiler there as we do meet our Armada commander in red, spawning on the front line here and going by the name of Jester B. Well, as an Armada commander. I mean, I guess it's not impossible that Jester B here won't end up going for Scuttles, but I would be a little bit surprised. Is going to be our red team leader. All right, going into Armada on the C lane is a bold choice, at least in the meta currently. But I can't lie, I'm kind of a fan. Yeah. Whenever I see an Armada commander playing in the water, I sort of root for them. They feel a little bit like the underdog. It's so hard for Armada commanders to take the water, but I think this is the best position for it. You can get some of those early boats out and harass really nicely, and as long as you keep the enemy contained really well, you can actually take over the seas and scale your economy and have a wonderful time doing it all. There's a lot of opportunity here. Spawning all the way on the other side here, all the way in the back line as the blue air player, it's going to be, well, and the blue commander, the blue leader here, it's going to be our core commander that goes by the name of Prime Hybrid. Prime Hybrid of the BAC clan, apparently, coming in at 27.89 open skill and going for an early an early Finch and an early transport here. No doubt to move around some constructors, for who I must imagine, yep, to be the C player. Very standard stuff. Obviously, you use that transport to either transport a constructor that's passed over here by the commander in this position to build this metal extractor, and then eventually this metal extractor, these two over here out on the island. Or, of course, you can use it to go for other funkier plays. I mean, it's not unheard of. I've certainly seen plays where you drop constructors on the high ground, all sorts of funky stuff like that. There's a lot of options, right? Lots and lots of options. For the frontliners, though, there's basically no option other than res bots and mass grunts. Pretty much how the meta has boiled down pretty aggressively recently is basically you try and get at least one res bot out on the field reclaiming. We've actually got 2 here for the Seafoam Green Commander, which is quite nice, and then you send your grunts to defend them, and you use the res bots to repair them and resurrect them, and you try and snipe these as well as the other important bit. Interesting play here as we do have a Centurion coming out, which is quite nice, but both the res bots do go down here, and that will mean that the grunts are now indispensable. Centurion going to be quite difficult to deal with, though. Centurion is the early game Razorback. Quite a bit more humble, I would say, but certainly does its job. Ooh, can we snipe the res bot? Oh, just barely not sniping the res bot right there. The LLT is coming up here from our brown commander, a Night Goat. Will be enough to fend all of this off, and you know what? That res bot gets away with it too. Gonna have more than enough time to reclaim all these rocks and live to tell the tale. Okay. Well, this is certainly an impressive army that we've got built up here so far. I mean, triple Centurion and some rocket bots is really, really quite nice. Those rocket bots obviously gonna be quite nice for taking down the LLTs, and the Centurion are excellent at guarding the rocket bots. Makes for a quite difficult composition to push into with bots here, and we are all bots, so it's going to be a little bit of a, yeah, I don't know, just kind of a very aggressive early opener here.
Commander self-destructed.
Early boats headed out on the field. We got tons of dolphins headed across here to do a little bit of scouting. We are going to go into some build power here. Usually you start off with a depth charge launcher. There it is. Depth charge launcher comes up, and then we're going to be able to use that to get into the water and then build out from there. You do need the build power in order to sustain yourself against the enemy units coming across right here. And the dolphin, man, tearing into this building right here as well. Record-breaking time spent in the Observer UIA. Nice scout right here by the Orange Commander, by the way. We do have Legion enabled. Not a lot of Legion gamers over there on the blue side, but we do have a couple over here on the red. We have at least one Legion Commander going to be putting some units down on the front here in the form of the Maroon Commander, Eccentricity, and we also have the Orange Legion Commander who's going to be playing in air.
Commander self-destructed.
Yellow Commander self-destructing. We're about 4 minutes and 30 seconds into this game, so we're right on time to start up that T2 transition. This is a meta that's been well figured out for, I want to say, years now. Like, this has been the prime bread and butter on Supreme Isthmus for a good long while. However, I will note that both of the tech players here, well, this player is going for Armada vehicles, right? So we're not going to be seeing a Tsar. This player is going for core bots, so no Czar over here either. So has the reign of the Czar finally ended? Or are these players maybe just mixing it up with something a little bit different? I don't know exactly, but at the very least, it does mean we're going to see a little bit of variety this game, which makes me happy, certainly. Hawks Tua, the green commander here, a little bit slow on the self-D. We would have liked to see this ideally a second or two ago. Build turret can be placed a little bit more optimally here as well. Well, this is actually a great build turret placement because it does hit all 3 mexes and the Geo here, but typically you want to build all your eco to this side so you can self-D the commander over on this side, and then you can just reclaim it with the construction turret. You don't have to use a res bot. Not the end of the world, right? We are nitpicking the tiniest of nitpicks here, but if you do want to hyper optimize that gameplay, then there you go. Lovely Brawl Force setup right here, though. We do have the HLT set up by Night Goat, so that's quite nice. These walls are a little bit too close to do anything. I'd like to see these built out maybe somewhere along this line, and then you build a couple of LLTs here and here in order to guard, and the HLT provides that overwatch, as its name would imply. Rocket bots en masse right here just to brawl out on the front line. Not bad whatsoever. Oh, and with the clumping right there from the pink commander, it is going to be a pretty decent trade. Yep, okay. 3 or 4 of those rocket bots go down. Only 1 or 2 for Lavender. It's a good trade so far. Wow. Some really aggressive fighter shenanigans here. So Legion, for the longest time, has been thought to be extremely underpowered in the early game. And in fact, the answer was just to build a lot more planes, which you certainly can when they only cost you 40 metal. The only issue is you need a lot more build power eventually in order to actually do really hardly anything. It means you have to really hyperscale your build power, but you don't have to leave the T1 planes basically ever. You can go up to T2 and still be producing T1 fighters, and they're just as effective at taking defenses down, or taking down enemy air walls and whatnot, because they're so cheap and so disposable. They really are a pretty bizarre kind of force, not one that we usually see. Definitely shakes up the air meta quite a bit. The humble Mauser has made it to the field, though. Firing away into the distance, a huge high-damage AoE projectile, just decimating the troops on the front line now. The Agitator has come up and running, and it is simply not good enough to deal with these bad boys. The Mauser will be forced into retreat right here as the Agitator will now finally fire towards them, but yeah, that is a risky expenditure to put that much metal on the front line here as we near our T2 transition. This has basically forced the blue team into effectively an all-in right here. I like this play, by the way, from the Cyan commander. You really do want to put on as much pressure on these commanders as early as possible. Trying to snipe these metal extractors, any wind turbines, anything like that can be a huge, huge help to your frontline brawlers. Zero control stepping in right here. We do have the HLT going down. The Agitator firing away at whatever it can. Ooh. Yeah, rocket bots moving in as well here. The secondary HLT will stay up and standing. No T2 yet available here, though, for the blue team. This is effectively an all-in, right? They're trying to spend those T1 units on whatever trade they can. And it's slowly petering out. The Destroyer over here getting some value, firing away for a little while. Radar jammer vehicle, also quite nice. But ultimately, mostly just a huge loss here for the blue team. Lost a bunch of units, lost a bunch of production. Well, not production, resbot production, reclaim and resurrection. Night Goat has the gauntlet up but isn't finishing it, and frankly, I think that's the right move here. Well, yeah. I think just abandoning that project and reclaiming as much of it as possible is probably the better idea here. Use that metal to pay for your T2 mexes. Missile boats being set up here. We do have the submarine blasting away at them. That's quite nice here. Missile boats are pretty good. They have a lot of range, but they can't necessarily deal with, well, submarines. Submarines just immune to anything that isn't a depth charge, so they don't really care. So many of these torpedo launchers, though, make it super, super pesky to linger around here. The really important thing is that you don't give a bunch of reclaim every time you kill this lab. You want to snipe it as quickly as possible. So usually what that means is a bunch of frigates, and you just dive in with a bunch of frigates for a second or two to fire away, kill the lab, and then retreat. You don't want to spend any time inside of that field, and you want to bring res bots or res subs to make sure you can stay alive. If you give up any metal, you lose your snowballing effect that you gain early on just from your position here. As you can see, like, this is a great example. You can see all these fights have taken place over here, so 1 or 2 res bots is going to be all it takes to get most of these units either reclaimed or rebuilt. And then you're in a fantastic spot. Torpedo launchers going down right here. One destroyer on the front line, not going to be enough here actually to deal with 3 frigates. Love the res sub right here though. Yep, no underwater harassment at all, so res sub is free to eat. Very nicely done. Mauser have largely been shut down. It looks like they're forced into retreat, and some of them have died on the front lines here just from stray rockets and whatnot. The blue front line is pushed back, though. That's one 4.3 mechs that they've been denied. The second is now in danger, as we do have pawns and centurions and all sorts of other good stuff moving in. Zero control. That's what 0K stood for after all this time, huh? Zero control. Our Seafoam Green Commander trying to hold on to the front line, trying to control the front line. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it. It'll be here all night. Mauser, though, I mean, sitting in napalm is not comfortable, and the rocket bots do enough burst damage that they can bring him down. Yeah, there we go. Okay. I want to say the tide of this front line has changed. Certainly with the loss of those Mauser, we're going to need steeper T2 reinforcements, and they are on the way. Most of this time has been spent right now by the Yellow Commander just going ahead and upping the economy, so we've got the T2 mexes coming up, just nearly complete right now. And then we're going to have more and more of those T2 units rolling out as well. Mauser not ridiculously expensive here. At 320 metal apiece, they're like, I think it's 10 metal more expensive than a medium tank. Slightly more expensive than a Decurion. And ladies and gentlemen, we've arrived. Our humblest of sea bugs. He may be small, but he carries a big package. It's a giant thermonuclear buttocks. Creepy crawling its way across the seafloor towards the enemy right here. This is difficult to deal with. The early scuttles can oftentimes be fatal. I saw another one somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's just following the first one. Okay, so where are we sending this then? Are we going to send it into the base? Are we going to send it after the commander? There's a lot of options here for the scuttles. Your earliest scuttle, of course, is going to be the one that has the most potential for value. Ooh, Red Commander throwing away a bunch of boats right here. Ooh, Scuttle coming in. Oh, Jester can't deal with it. Oh, no. Yep. Scuttle's like, oh, okay, there's nothing in the water to actually deal with this. Boom goes the Scuttle and kills everything in a big old radius. How cute is that? Absolute Scuttle tier gaming. I feel like we've watched poor DH invest heavily in a lot of hovercraft here and very, very little in anything else. And I don't think it's working out all too well. There goes one of the laboratories. Scuttle does connect over on that side. Oh, I love some early Scuttle bombs. If you have a player that's managed to hold on to the Navy lane, it's a great way of taking advantage of it. You have so much potential right here. Oh, T2 Lab just moments from coming up right here. That'd be another wonderful snipe for the Scuttles. That really is the Scuttles' bread and butter, is the fact that they can pop a lot of those T2 buildings in one shot. Ooh. Ooh, does he see the AGO? Yep, he's going for the AGO. Boom goes the Scuttle in the main base. And brilliantly manages to take out the AGO, the T2 laboratory, and basically all the constructors too. That is beautiful. Wow. Meanwhile, the Scuttle that knocked out the base here for the Red Commander does, of course, mean that this commander is effectively without production. We do have the T2 laboratory queued up here, but in 300 metal, I don't know that we're going to quite have enough to build up that, yeah, that necessary critical mass of metal to get into that T2 laboratory. They are quite expensive. Frigates now blasting away here at some of the coastal defenses. The wind turbines are falling too, which does hurt. We need those wind turbines in order to fund the energy cost for all of this stuff. Metal extractors have all been sniped here, though, or most of them anyway. One destroyer kind of lingering around, needs to go finish the job. But all said and done, some beautiful Scuttle plays right there from our Green Commander. I love it. Okay, so no longer is the era of the Tsar. Instead, we're looking for nuclear bugs. We're going into Scuttles. I love it. Scuttles are one of those, they're just one of those units that you can get so much value out of. And if you micro them properly, you can get even more value out of it. It just feels great. Such a rewarding unit to use well. Okay, rocket bots firing out into the distance, trying to hit ticks, missing mostly. T2 Lab up and running, by the way, here for our Cyan hero. Has had very little to worry about for the last, I don't know, couple minutes or so. Mass submarine is risky. For a commander that's gone heavily into Buccaneers here, mass submarine is a very dubious proposition at best. Buccaneers and the, what are they called? Oppressors firing away here with their long-range plasma cannons. Making it very, very awkward for Dash Big Slash, the light pink commander here, to do anything on the front line, really. Sheldon also available now. We are sending our radar jammer bots forward. Don't quite like that play, but not the end of the world. And again, frigates just taking fabulous trades wherever we go. This really is the power of the Navy. If you can win the early Navy game, then you can harass the front line to death. That's exactly what we're seeing here. Sheldon firing away too and just doing a great job of whittling a lot of this force down. I will say I do like this drone platform here. I think it's quite nice to actually see these drones being moved out and used a little bit as a scout and a little bit as anti-harassment deterrent. That's all of the submarines going down right there, by the way. Well, I guess we got a few in reserve. The Tan Commander going into a T2 lab. We've still got the hovercraft lab. We don't even have all our T2 labs. We don't even have an AGO here. We're a little bit lackluster on the scaling. But that's okay. Sometimes you gotta be a little lackluster in order to keep yourself in the game. Core lab. Core air lab up and running. Triple fusion up and running here. There's going to be more than enough energy and tons of build power right now. Means that we're going to be basically set to start spamming out as many fighters as possible. We do have a bunch of constructors coming up here as well. Love that for the blue commander. How's our orange Air Force looking? You know what? Almost identical. We don't have as many E-converters, T2 E-converters, but we're supplementing that with T1. And I kind of like that a lot, actually. Those T1s, of course, don't cost any metal, so they're very cheap. And as long as you can continue producing out of this laboratory, this is going to be perfectly fine. You actually can go for more build power than this. There's actually only about half the build power that you can get before you max out. So expensive to get that build power up and running, and to a sufficient degree that you're producing at full capacity here. The Despot heavy battleship. Slowly sailing its way across the high seas, getting into position here to start harassing, well, anything that they can. Missile boat in position here now, too, to start firing away. I love that. We do have a spy bot that was around here somewhere. Yeah, tucked into the corner of this mountain right there. Very difficult to see. Going to be quite difficult to find as well here. Yeah, the missile boat going to just shell away from a mile out. And, of course, we want to continue the pressure here. We want to make sure this lab can't really spam anything out. But fortunately here for the Cyan Commander, being fed a win on a platter, as it's only submarines being produced at this point here. The agitator is super annoying, not the end of the world. Submarines, again, super annoying, but you have Buccaneers in the comp, you're going to be perfectly fine. It's just a matter of using the units right now. We have one submarine leaking out here, actually. We'll manage to find the missile boat, the cruise missile ship. Huh. There we go. Buccaneers managing to take down the T2 sub, and the T1s will be shortly after there to follow. A couple of ducks have been sent along their way, as well as a couple of high explosive crustaceans. Ducks firing their high energy beams. The yellow commander desperately pinging, knowing the sting of the the sting of the Scuttle. Oh no. We were expecting an AGO up here, certainly, as these Scuttles do make their way up the hillside. One of them will be peeled off right here. Frankly, I mean, it's not even really worth blowing this. It is nice, though. You do shut down 300 energy production per second, which is pretty good. Okay, there we go. All the defenses fall. The entire geothermal is wiped out as well. The Scuttles managed to make it into the back line. Oh, no. No reclaim either right there. Boom goes the build power. And my goodness. So much value from those humblest of little sea bugs. T2 Lab at this point now eaten up in favor of an AGO. I wouldn't mind seeing this swapped out. Maybe an Armada commander can lend something, or a Legion commander can lend to T2 to get that upgraded to a Bastion? No, a Bulwark. No, that's not right either. Question on everybody's mind. What on earth is that thing called? Legion has their own version of the armed geothermal. It is effectively, it has a radar jammer, it has an anti-nuke, it has a Wendy's. It's got everything. It's impressive. Not nearly as explosive as the AGO, but also produces a bunch of value. It has a bunch of drones, too. That's another very useful thing. We've got just pure fighter spam on the front line here. Or not fighter, scout spam here, just to send something into the enemy front line so that we have a constant flow of vision. I kind of love it, actually. It's such a cheap solution, but yeah, we have 51 metal per scout right here, and you get so much more value out of those scouts. They're going to be seeing quite a bit more. Not to mention, of course, yeah, you can just peel them off and go send them in a different direction, too. One duck has made its way around. Submarines. Oh, actually, this composition is pretty low. Oh, actually, those submarines hurt a lot. These are Krakens. Those are not to be trifled with. Oh, yeah, okay. Those have loads of AoE, and they hurt quite a lot per shot. That trade definitely didn't go the way the blue commander was thinking. We keep engaging on a very... There's not a great angle to engage here, right? There's so many rocks protecting this area, as opposed to this one. Is it actually perfectly mirrored? I could have swore there was some imbalance there. No, it actually looks pretty much perfectly mirrored. I don't know why, but this lane always seems to be much easier to harass than the other one. One duck making its way into the back. Oh, yep, there we go. E-converter will be the target.
Commander has died.
And there it goes. E-converter falls here, and obviously with those E-converters falling, it does mean that you're basically running out of metal. I actually get the wreckage of an E-converter. That rarely happens. The time has come to push the front here, though. We've got T1 rocket bots pushing in tandem with Fiends. Sharpshooters available on the front here, though, to pick apart any of these heavier targets. And one by one, they start getting blasted apart. I like this escalation, right? We have sort of a very natural stepping stone here for the blue team. We go for the Scuttles, then we go into the T2. We have the aircraft for vision, into the T2 static defenses. The walls here are quite nice as well. We have even a tactical missile launcher coming up here. I think by the time that that's even done, we may well be finished with the front line as it stands. But I love this. I mean, the sharpshooter is such an easy way of stepping up the game here. Gonna start chipping away, I mean seriously chipping away at the armor here on these heavy Prometheus. And of course anything else that comes this way. There are the bombers though. In the backline by the blue commander. Boom goes the AGOs right there for the pink commander. I don't think we saw a single T3 unit this game before the bombers managed to make it into the back. And we have loads and loads of those fighters being produced right here, but nowhere near enough build power. It's just like I was saying earlier, you need so much build power for these Legion labs. We had like a third of the build power we needed. And indeed, it means we won't have nearly enough fighters to shut down the heavy bombers. You probably do 2% of damage to this heavy bomber with one of those Legion fighters. They're that bad. But you can make 400 of them. It's the only way that they really work. E-converters and whatever else just being targeted here. Bomber. Yep, gonna go after some wind turbines. Sure, why not? The wind energy here is quite nice, so taking it out does help quite a lot. The E-converters, of course, just dealing with a bunch of that energy offset, but it won't matter. No matter how much energy offset you have, it won't matter if you can't produce the energy. What am I trying to say? It doesn't matter how many E-converters you have if you can't produce enough energy to fund them all. Or if you don't have enough storage to fund them all, too. That's a common issue, but not one that's really expressly the primary issue here. Sharpshooters actually got a little bit greedy, overextending. Not the end of the world, of course. Bombers are now here in order to just terrorize the front line. There are softer targets here that we could be going for. The laboratory, the T2 laboratory, the build tower, all that sort of stuff. Here it is, the Rampart, that's what it's called. Always forgetting what this thing is named. Missile boats trying to take it out. You can see it has a decent-sized explosive radius, but it's nowhere near as bad as the AGO. You can effectively build one of these things with construction turrets and still build a laboratory, and they won't... If it dies, it won't kill the laboratory. That's the important part. Well, I'll give tremendous points here to the red team's courage. Staying in this game as late as they have here after several massive bombings. The yellow commander rebuilding after being effectively obliterated. Bombers just having a field day, though. Can we send the fighters to go help? There we are. T2 fighters will make their way across, those little X-Wing fighters from the Legion faction. Legion T2 fighters are super good. It's very weird because they like overcompensate, right? They have the weakest fighter in the early game. So they overcompensate by having two, not just one, but two different strongest fighters in the game. You know what they say. The strongest Air Force is Legion's fighters, and the second strongest Air Force is Legion's other fighters. Capital ship coming up and running right here for the Cyan Commander. Just mass-producing T2 sharpshooters here, as well as a bunch of Marauder now coming out of the laboratory. Our Green Commander has got the eco set up right here. We're on, wow, 5 APHIS production for Marauders is crazy. But you can see how many Marauder we can now stream out every single second right now. Blue Commander going for that double APHIS as well. Setting ourselves up really quite nicely here for an excellent mid and late game. Now, sharpshooters are without energy for zero control. That's a big issue. I believe these are being handed over. Yeah, it looks like the blue commander is producing these, but there's not enough energy actually for zero control to fire all these at the moment. Wind speed was dropped, but it will be climbing now, so they'll be able to fire once more. Destroyer here firing out into the distance as well. Peppering up the tanks and constructors and everything else here quite nicely. Somewhere along the line, we're looking at a very, very difficult game to come back from. Oh, here we go. We got the gunships moving in. I like this play. No proper anti-air available here. There's just a light anti-air that does come off the little missile chute here from the messenger. Means these gunships do actually have a field day, tearing apart these boats and buying a bunch of time for the yellow commander. Fighters in the air also going to be great for dealing with a bunch of this stuff. Yeah, this is all said and done not too bad. You take down that last messenger. I think this is well worth it. Don't get caught by the anti-air boats. You bought yourself a lot of time, but don't waste the metal. Ooh, okay, we're going to dive. Oh, I don't know that I like that. Yeah, those boats are, or those planes rather, are going to take way more damage. Is it just me, or do these look exactly like Pelicans from Star Wars? Star Wars. Ha! From Halo. Oh, jeez. I wonder how many people went to the comment sections immediately there. Listen, I've got a lot of sci-fi in my mind all the time. I can't keep it all straight. Not possibly. Legionnaire now firing down right here. Sort of the dragon equivalent here from the Legion faction. The Tyrannus, actually. Don't know where I got a Legionnaire from. Has a heavy plasma cannon, a bunch of Gauss cannons. It also has light anti-air, which is kind of quite nice. Means it can actually sort of defend itself. But against T2, I mean, it's not really going to be able to properly survive long. Down it comes, crashing out of the sky here as the Marauder hit the base of the red and yellow commander. The Rampart goes up in smoke right there. Oh, wow. Is that reclaimed? Or was that the explosion? That must have been the explosion. That was very minuscule. Okay. Rampart's super safe, apparently. Pablo McCornfish.
Commander destroyed.
Almost sounds like maybe I'm supposed to be saying that, I don't know, in like a Spanish-Irish accent. Miguel O'Hara accent. Advanced fusion reactor resurrected just in time for the Marauders to pop it again. And down it goes. I love that. Yeah, Marauder just sweeping across the southern seaboard here. Into the mainland of the red base. And well across all their static defenses. Properly wiping them from this field of this face of this Earth. Well, it's not really Earth, is it? I like to imagine that this is the only strip of land on the entire world of Supreme Isthmus. The rest of it is Subnautica.
Commander has died.
And this time, stay dead, says Prime Hybrid. Jokingly, I'm sure, but also quite serious. Night Goat, the very last commander here. Yeah, gonna hit that resign button. Into the silent night
self-destructed
goes the blue team. The red team, however, will not make it past today.
Battle ended.
What a wonderful game. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. If you did enjoy this match of Beyond All Reason, this pretty impressive showing, I will say, from a lot of the folks here on our blue side, then feel free to join the Brightworks community. We've always got our links down below, which I'm going to refresh. Some people have been saying those links are outdated, so I'm going to refresh the links down below for the Discord, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff down there as well to check out. I sure hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you in the very next match of Beyond All Reason.